Whenever you are, Madam Clerk.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, very good. We'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. Roll call, please.
Fusco.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Connor. Boyes.
Aye.
Hannah.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, hearing none, it carries. Okay, so we have a number of items that are up for public hearing this afternoon. The procedures will be that we will receive a report from the Planning Department referencing the conditional use requests. After that, we'll ask that the clerk swear in anyone who wishes to testify before the committee. And then we'll open it up for public hearing for comments. And afterwards, we'll close the public hearing and then open it up to the ward council or committee members for questions and comments. And then we'll open up to all of council. We'll repeat that process this evening at 5 o'clock. And the only difference between that and this will be that the committee will make a recommendation to all of council, either in favor, against, or to table an item and to take time for further study. So those are the procedures that we follow here in Akron City Council. So with that, I would like to request that the clerk please read in the first item. Thank you.
Sure. The first item up for public hearing today is a resolution adopting the 2025 Capital Investment and Community Development Program, legally referred to as the Capital Investment Budget, and declaring an emergency.
Yes, Helen Tomick, welcome.
Good afternoon, committee chair, committee members. Every year, the administration prepares a capital investment and community development program for city council consideration. The budget specifies the types, locations, costs, and general descriptions of capital investments planned for implementation throughout the year. The objectives of the capital investment budget are to construct and rehabilitate facilities vital to residents of the city of Akron, encourage private investment, thereby increasing the city's tax base and annual revenues, leverage federal, state, and private funds whenever possible to fund capital projects, and to provide capital improvements to support the long-term growth consistent with the City of Akron's Land Use and Development Guide Plan. The 2025 Capital Investment and Community Development Program includes the following: enhancing and maintaining existing public infrastructure, street and sidewalk improvements, improvements to parks and community centers, construction of the Reservoir Pool and renovations to the Reservoir Community Center, demolition of Rankin Elementary and Goodrich Middle School, development of affordable housing, the purchase of vehicles for police, fire, and public service, debt service and previously financed capital project, the completion of the East Exchange Complete Street project, ongoing water and sewer system upgrades, and replacing the final 1,700 active lead service lines remaining in the city of Akron. The proposed 2025 capital budget represents a total investment of $368 million. Funding includes $84.7 million of local funds, $1.7 million of regional resources, $240.9 million of state of Ohio funds, $35.5 million of federal government funds, and $5 million of private resources. Planning and city staff conducted a detailed review of the capital budget on January 6th, focusing on transportation, parks and recreation, public facilities, housing and community services, economic development, and miscellaneous. On Monday, January 13th, the additional review was for the water and sewer sections of the capital budget. Per city charter, the capital budget must be passed by February 15th, 2025. With that, any questions and comments? Thank you.
Thank you. What was the date again?
February 15th,
Okay,
2025.
I thought I heard January. It's okay.
Oh, I might have said January.
No, it's okay. Not a big deal. Either way, thank you very much for that report. At this time, I'll ask if there's anyone here, either online or in person, that would like to make comment referencing. We'll open up a public hearing after we swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee.
If you'd like to speak on this public hearing, could you please stand and raise your right hand? We do not have any speakers.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, though, for legality purposes, we'll open up the public hearing for comment. Is there anyone here wishing to testify before the committee referencing the 2025 capital budget? Anyone? Anyone? Close the public hearing. We'll ask if there's any comments, questions from any committee members at this time. and/or council members at this time? Yes, Tina Boyce.
Thank you. Just wanted to thank the planning department and others for all the work. I know this is a lot of shifting sand sometimes and big numbers, so just wanted to show my appreciation. Also, I know I've received comment from my community about the budget, and I know the budget itself doesn't necessarily reflect this altogether, but I think folks are in neighborhoods are kind of clamoring to see we've got plans to do things downtown, and they're big and they're with lots of funders. I think folks that are talking to me are telling me they want to see something concentrated like that in neighborhoods. And maybe the numbers aren't as big and the types of investments aren't the same, but I see some really good stuff, particularly in housing, that's exciting. It'd be really great at some point, to see if there's a way to communicate it in a way that says, we're working on neighborhoods too. So just wanted to give you that feedback. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment. Any further questions or comments? Very good. Hearing none, we'll now move on to the second item that's up for public hearing. Ms. Viviano?
The second item up for public hearing today is an ordinance approving the Glendale Avenue redevelopment plan, making necessary findings in connection therewith, and declaring an emergency.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Committee Chair and Planning Committee. The Glendale Avenue redevelopment area consists of 2 parcels occupying approximately 0.9 acres of land located along the north side of Glendale Avenue, immediately west of downtown Akron. The parcels are currently developed with 2 vacant commercial buildings. One is owned by the City of Akron and the other is privately owned. The redevelopment area is located immediately west of the abandoned Interbelt Highway and functioning service roads, including Rand Avenue. Zoning in the redevelopment area is U4 Commercial and UPD 40B. The UPD 40 district allows specified residential and retail uses. Existing zoning in the area will not be changed. The Glendale Avenue redevelopment plan contains a description of the properties and a statement of objectives. The establishment of the redevelopment plan gives the city the ability to utilize tax increment financing in the plan area under provisions of the Ohio Revised Code. It is in the interest of the city to provide opportunities for businesses to create jobs for the residents of the city. A shortage of developable or reusable land within the city of Akron impedes the city's ability to attract jobs and business, and the proposed redevelopment plan will assist in development of parcels in the plan area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulhauser. With that, we'll ask if there's anyone here that's wishing to speak to the council committee referencing the public hearing.
If you're here to speak on this public hearing, could you please stand and raise your right hand? Okay, we have no speakers, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll open it up and we'll ask if there's anyone here wishing to testify before the committee referencing the Glendale Avenue redevelopment plan. Anyone here? Anyone? Okay, not hearing or seeing anyone. Close the public hearing portion, open up to the committee members. Ask if there's any comments in reference to this. I do see, recognizing no committee members, I see Sandy Shazier, Ward 1.
Yeah, this happens to be in my ward, and if you know historically, the Grand Promenade to downtown Akron was established to come down and reconnect the downtown all the way back to where the Glendale Steps are today. And so with this being a part of it, I just want to applaud you for getting to this point, being able to find tenants and to bring back the vitality that that area once had and that we'll be driving forward in the future. So kudos on getting this to this point. Citizens of Ward 1 have been very, very clear. They want to see some activity there. They want to see those parcels reused. And at this point, I think we're going in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments or questions from anyone? Sharon Connor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Coming from a historic neighborhood, I just want to applaud the city and the neighborhood for their efforts in preserving this wonderful piece of history. I think it's a great asset, and to revitalize that asset's going to be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Very good. We'll now move on to the next item.
The third item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a Type A daycare home at 1075 Lane Street and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Martinique Tucker is requesting permission to establish a Type A child daycare home at this location. The proposed daycare home, Smart Start, would occupy both floors of the 1,148 square foot, two-story colonial dwelling. Care would be provided for a maximum of 12 children, ranging in age from 6 to 12 years. The days of operation are anticipated to be Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. with alternating weekends. If approved, the petitioner intends to hire one full-time assistant. No changes are proposed for the interior or the exterior of the house. The property contains a detached one-car garage and there's on-street parking along Lane Street. The rear yard is enclosed with chain-link fencing and is a location for an outdoor play area. Since most of the activities will be indoors and children are dropped off and picked up at various times of the day, providing care for up to 6 additional children should not have a detrimental effect on the abutting properties nor create additional traffic congestion. This Summit Lake neighborhood property is on a dead-end street, and the traffic engineer has no concerns with drop-off or pickup. This request to move from Type B to a Type A license will allow the petitioner more flexibility in meeting her client's daycare needs. Providing quality daycare service is beneficial to the entire city, and the planning staff supports this request and recommends approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. At this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone here that wishes to comment before the committee during the public hearing. Please be sworn in by Sarah Biviano, our clerk of council.
If you're here for this public hearing, could you please stand and raise your right hand? We have no speakers, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We'll now open up the public hearing and ask if there's any comments or questions. Comments or questions? Anyone? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Ask if there's any questions or comments from any committee members and/or council members. Okay, with that, we'll now move on to the next item, which I believe is number 4. Sarah?
Yes, the fourth item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a tire sales and repair shop at 1475 Maslin Road and declaring an emergency.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. James Alstrom is requesting permission to establish a tire sales and repair shop at this location. The property contains 2 buildings. The main building, an approximate 50-foot by 40-foot or 2,000 square foot brick structure, is centered within the parcel. A 25-foot by 35-foot metal accessory building is located close to the northeast corner of the property. The main building is constructed of brick and contains a garage bay door, 2 man doors along the west elevation, and 2 man doors on the north elevation. It will be utilized as the main shop where work will be performed and for the selling and repairing of tires. The accessory structure will be utilized for storage. The front section of the property is paved with access from curb cuts along Maslin Road. No additional exterior changes to the building are proposed. Petitioners stated the hours of operation would be Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. The petitioner states 3 to 5 new employees will be hired for the business. The former gas station, constructed in 1953, has been vacant for many years. The conditional use was approved in 2021 for an auto exhaust repair business, but the project did not come to fruition. The proposed reuse of the property as a tire sales and repair shop is consistent with other surrounding businesses in the area, and the planning staff believes the size of the lot and the buildings are sufficient to allow for interior auto repair work and the proper storage of tires. Both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, I'd like to ask Sarah Biviano to please swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee.
If you're here for this public hearing, could you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, "I do."
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to testify, and if there is, if you could please provide for us your name and address. Thank you.
James Alstrom, 4996 Maslin Road, North Canton, Ohio, 44720.
Thank you.
I'm actually just here to answer any questions that you may have for me. He did a great job doing it. I do want to say I work with about 7 different cities, and Akron's been great. So it's been very easy to do. So just want to mention that too.
Good, thank you.
And Nucci and the staff, it's been pleasant.
Thank you.
But I purchased this property at Kiko a couple months ago. 2 buildings, 2 acres. So we're going to use it for our tire sales and then storage. And then we might have a second part coming, very soon for the southern part. But other than that, it's very straightforward.
Thank you, very good. Thank you. Yep. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify before the committee? Anyone? Okay, we'll close the public hearing portion. Open up to any committee members that may have questions or comments. Any council members with any questions or comments? Mr. McKittrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The petitioner is already cleaning this property up, and as Mr. Antonucci said, it's been vacant for some time. It's been an eyesore, and just in the short period of time since the petitioner has purchased it, there's been a great transformation of the property, and I am fully in support of this project. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments? Very good. Hearing none, we'll now move on to the next item. Sarah Biviano, thank you.
The fifth item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a Type A daycare home at 934 Reed Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Josephine White is requesting permission to establish a Type A child daycare home at this location. Proposed daycare home, Circle of Life Child Enrichment Center, would mainly occupy the main floor and basement area of this 1,000 square foot, 1-story dwelling. Care would be provided for a maximum of 12 children ranging in age from 6 weeks to 12 years. The days of operation will be from Monday through Friday, from 7 a.m. to 6:15 p.m. There will be no overnight stays. No changes are proposed for the interior or the exterior of the house. If approved, the petitioner intends to hire 2 full-time assistants. The southeast corner of the property contains a detached 1-car garage. There's also on-street parking along Reed Avenue. The rear yard contains space for an outdoor play area and is enclosed with chain link fencing. Since most of the activities will be indoors and the children are dropped off and picked up at varying times of the day, providing care up to 6 additional children should not have a detrimental effect on abutting properties or create traffic congestion. This property is well maintained, and the traffic engineer has no concerns with drop-off and pickup. This request to move from a Type B to a Type A license will allow the petitioner more flexibility in meeting her client's daycare needs. Providing quality daycare service is beneficial to the entire city, and the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval, subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci, for that report. Sarah Biviano, could you please swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee?
If you're here to speak for this public hearing, could you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do. I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. We'll open up the public hearing. Welcome to Akron City Council. If you could please provide for us your name and address. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Josephine White, and I am at 934 Reed Avenue, Akron, Ohio, 44306, zip code. So myself, I'm just here really to see if there are any questions or comments. I have operated the Type B for since March. I have been in the field for 30 years, so I've operated centers for other people. This is my first time in business for myself, and I'm looking forward to hopefully expanding to Type A. Recently, I was awarded the Gold Star for the Step Up to Quality, so it's the highest rating you can get for quality childcare in Ohio, so I'm excited about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great news. Thank you.
So if anyone have any questions I can answer?
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you both for coming this afternoon.
Thank you.
Appreciate it whenever folks come down to talk with us. Anyone else wishing to testify before the committee? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion, and we'll open it up to questions from any committee members and or council members at this time. Okay, congratulations again on your gold star. That's really cool. And thank you for what you do. I don't know how you could do that. Watch children all day. I had a couple of my own, not that many. But yeah, thank you for what you do. Do appreciate it. Thank you. With that, we'll let you both know that if you'd like to, we'll have that additional public hearing at 5 o'clock tonight. You can show up in person, or you can Zoom in if you'd like to coordinate that with our clerk, Sarah Viviano, and or just watch on, I believe it's on YouTube, is that it?
That's correct.
Live streamed, so that's available as well. But thank you both for coming down. We really do appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the balance of the agenda. I'm going to recommend that we just take time, short of any questions or concerns, and we'll move into the new list of legislation. Sarah Viviano, if you could please read in the first item. Thank you.
Item number 1 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to create additional parking at 1990 Parkgate Avenue and declaring an emergency.
For an advertised for public hearing.
Item number 2 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a two-family dwelling at 161 Hillbush Avenue and declaring an emergency.
For an advertised for public hearing.
And item number 3 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a dual-use cannabis dispensary at 926 East Waterloo Road and declaring an emergency.
For an advertised for public hearing. With that, planning is adjourned. I'll turn it back over to our clerk, Sarah Viviano.
Our next committee today will be the Rules Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Those committee members are McKittrick, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Davis. Again, that's the Rules Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, it's 2 o'clock, and we're ready to begin the Rules Committee meeting. Those committee members are McKittrick, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Davis. We do have all committee members present except for Councilwoman Davis. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk Biviano. I'd like to call the Rules Committee to order. We have previous minutes to approve. If I could get a motion for that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. If you could read that piece in, I am offline for some reason.
Sure. The item under regular agenda for rules is a resolution formally recognizing the tragic loss of the life of Jasmine Tucker, expressing deepest condolences and sympathy to the family of Jasmine Tucker, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I'd like to yield to Councilman Garrett since this is, he's the sponsor of this piece. Go ahead, sir.
Greetings, Chair. Thank you for allowing me this time. I think it's real important that we express our condolences as a body to the Jasmine Tucker family. I feel that this measure is necessary for the immediate preservation of public peace, health, safety, and welfare for the reasons that this will express condolences and sympathy for the Jasmine family and others negatively impacted by this tragic event. And I'd like for us to consider passing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. We have any comments from any committee members? Any other council members? Okay. What's your pleasure on this, Councilman? I'm assuming suspension of the rules?
Yes, thank you. Asking for suspension of rules and have it passed presented this evening.
Okay, sir. The wishes of the sponsors, suspension of the rules. Do we have a motion? We have a motion. We have a second. We have a second. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have that passed, and we'll bring that before council tonight. That's all we have today for Rules Committee, and we will be adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee today is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. We do have all committee members present. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, I'd like to move forward and call the public service meeting to order, please. All members are present, and I'd like to get approval of our minutes, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, moving forward, we do got several pieces in front of us today, and our first piece is ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Akron Energy Systems, LLC, other known as AES, for professional consultant services in support of the Fixed Network Advanced Metering Infrastructural AMI project and declare an emergency. And we do have our Service Director, Chris Luttle, with us today. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, this is an ongoing contract with Akron Energy System for support for a senior meter installation inspector and advisor, not only for the city of Akron, but also overseeing the project. This person has been working with us for a little over a year through AES, and as we brought to you recently and gave you an update on the meters project, we've procured the new meters, the ones to finish out the project. So there is a budget for this for 1 year, but we are really anticipating not using all of these funds. This project, the installation of the meters, should be wrapping up June or July of this year.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luttle? Any other council members with us today? All right, is consent okay?
Yes, sir.
A committee?
Motion for consent?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you. Moving on to the next piece, or authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the construction and replacement of a wind cone at the Akron Fulton Airport and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. This is another project that we have applied with ODOT for the replacement of this particular item, which is the wind cone that the pilots and actually the people at the airport use for wind direction. This wind cone is located near the skate park. It's well beyond its useful years. So this legislation will be purchasing a new wind cone. It will be upgrades to the electrical system, which are from the vault building near the skate park. And as I said, it's funded by ODOT, but there is a match, or not a match, but 95% of this $174,000 will be paid by ODOT. The city share is $8,700. So construction will start later this summer.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle? All right. Consent okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Committee?
Motion to approve, consent?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to our next piece, number 6, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the construction of Canal Park Stadium restroom improvements and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, we have talked about this in the capital budget, but at the Canal Park Stadium, we have public restrooms. We have 3 men's, 3 women's, 1 family restroom in the main concourse. And these improvements, we gutted these restrooms as soon as the season was over. Last year, with our own staff, we did upgrade all the lighting to LED, but this project will include new epoxy floor, repainting of all the walls. All the partitions were removed, toilet partitions. Those will all be new. All new hand sinks with all ADA fixtures. We did keep the water closets, formerly the toilets, and those will be reused, but all new hand dryers to meet current spec. So we did bid this project last week, and contractor that's low bid is Kavanaugh Construction. So in order to move this project along, I would respectfully ask to suspend the rules, but obviously I'll take any questions for this project.
Sure, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle?
I understand that you're going to have, what do they call that, efficiency plumbing put in so that you save a lot of water?
Yes, sir. All the fixtures will be the motion detect and automatically shut off. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Any other committee members? Councilwoman, did you have something?
Yeah, just curious. I recently had the experience of seeing someone address this gender issue that we have and said all restrooms are all genders. Are we thinking about doing something like that there? Because I don't know how people are addressing those individuals who.
Well, we do have the 1 family restroom, which would be gender neutral, but as far as the other restrooms, we did not address it here. But I could tell you, Councilwoman, we are looking at it in this building, which would be the most appropriate to have a gender neutral restroom.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chris did mention he would like suspension of rules. How's the committee feel?
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
Second. All right, thank you. I have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll suspend the rules on that piece, Chris. Next piece is authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into the contract or contracts without formality of publicly advertising for bids with Jack Dehaney Company for the purchase of equipment and services to help maintain street sweeping equipment and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Excuse me. Jack Dehaney Company is our representative, where we purchase all our street sweepers, and this legislation will allow us to enter into a contract to purchase replacement parts. As you know, when you have specialized equipment, we need to buy OEM or original equipment manufacturer parts. This legislation previously was on the no bid ordinance. There's been some changes at the state, so that's why we have to bring some of these pieces in individually.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle? Any other council members in chambers? All right. Consent okay, Chris?
Yes, sir.
All right. Committee,
So moved.
Second?
all in favor of consent agenda?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to our next piece is number 8 on the agenda, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into an amendment to the consultant agreement without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with CT Consultants, Inc. for professional engineering services for the Portage Lakes Water Main Extension Project and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. CT Consultants are the original designer for this project out in Portage Lake, where we have worked with Ohio EPA to extend our water in Coventry for this neighborhood that really was lacking any water service at all, and they were having a very difficult time with their wells or no water at all at times. So this project is funded through principal forgiveness through Ohio EPA, and the balance of this project is funded by the residents that are tying in their homes. So this is not coming out of the Akron water budget, but this is going to add customers. This legislation, what we need this legislation for is extra work that CT is doing. The right-of-way lines on these neighborhoods are not well defined at all. There's no curb, there's no sidewalks in a lot of these areas, so you don't know where the property line starts and stops. So they're doing extra survey work. So we make sure that we put these shut-off boxes or water boxes, we call for each resident, in the right-of-way. Also with this, they will transport or transpose all those records and give them to us so we get those into our GIS. So that's what this work is for.
Thank you for that. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle? Any other council members? All right. Consent okay?
Yes, sir.
Committee?
Motion for consent?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll place that on the consent agenda. Moving on to our next piece will be number 9, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Sorrento Acquisition, LLC, doing business as Royce U.S. Protection, to provide security-related services with respect to the City of Akron Municipal Building and declare an emergency. Chris.
So these are for our building security personnel downstairs at the metal detector, and then the extra personnel that they do bring in for other than business hours if there's special meetings in this building. So they have helped us out at a few other places just for building security. I believe at Lock 3 a couple times they've helped us out. So this is for the 2025 year. Security for, like I said, this building during business hours and after business hours.
All right, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle? Any other council members? All right, is consent okay for that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Move for consent.
I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We'll put that on the consent agenda. Moving on to the next piece of legislation is number 10, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into agreement or agreements with Sam Sierra Incorporated without the formality of publicly advertising for bids for the lease, hardware, and accessories for vehicle locators, dash cameras, and asset trackers on all public service department vehicles and equipment for a 36-month period and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, this is a 3-year contract with Samsara. We've looked at a couple different manufacturers of automatic vehicle locator / AVL. This geotab service by Samsara provided the highest ping rate, which means when we look on the screen and we see a snowplow truck, let's say, it's in front of our building here. It's there. We're getting real-time information. Our old system, when we would view a truck, it may be all the way down by Polsky's or even farther because they didn't have the faster ping rate. As you could see, this is about $360,000 a year. Our old system, we were paying about $115,000 a year. But the benefits to this system versus the old is, we're going to get plow up, plow down, how much salt's been spread. Plus, we're going to have in-camera in each one of these trucks, like a dash cam, facing forward to see what the driver is actually seeing. So they'll be able to identify and geolocate if it's a pothole, if it's a street light out. Now, if it's during the day, you're not going to see the street light out. But if you're out during the night, they'll be able to pinpoint that, and it'll locate where that street light is out on their screen. They'll be able to hit a button, and it'll automatically locate that. We also will expand this out to some of our trailers, so we will know where all our equipment is all the time. And also how fast it's going, but it also has diagnostics tied into the engines. So it'll know when that oil change is due. It reports back to our motor equipment, and it also diagnostics. If that truck is running, then we can get it in for service, which means it could be a fuel savings, it could be a green energy type thing, where if it's not running efficiently, then we need to get it in and take a look at it. So this system is far ahead of the old system, and we're really excited about it, especially doing the quick diagnostics and being out there and monitoring the city as we drive through the city during working hours.
All right, thank you. Rewind back to, I have a dash camera for my car and I like it. You mentioned about the street lights. Can you repeat that again?
So if we're driving tonight, let's say we're out plowing and there's a street light out, that driver could actually, there'll be a function where he could actually, or she, would be able to pinpoint where they're at. They'll know where they're at because of that and hit something that says street light out. It'll send a report that the street light is out, okay? This will eventually tie into our not our 301, our City Works operation, which will automatically generate a work order. So if it's a pothole at the corner of, pick one, Archwood and Main, and they geolocate that work order could be generated and sent back to 311, then that would go to the appropriate highway supervisor that we have a pothole.
Pretty neat. All right, pretty interesting. My dash camera doesn't do that.
What's the lifespan of one of those vehicles and the camera systems?
The vehicle itself?
And the camera system.
Well, the camera system, as they go through upgrades, I would have to get back to you, Councilman, on that, but the vehicle is, how many miles we're putting on it. So, best practices on a plow truck is probably 5 to 6 years, but we have extended the life on some of those, and that's why we recently brought you the trash trucks. When we said most of our fleet was 2013, best practice is to turn those plow trucks, or sanitation trucks, excuse me, over every 5 years, because that's when you get into the major repairs, and that's what we want to avoid.
Good. Good question. Any other questions or comments from committee members first? Any other council members? All right. This is pretty impressive. I kind of like it.
If any of you want to come out to the Snow Center, we just did a whole new video board. We're doing some remodeling out there. So anytime you want to come out, whether it's a snow event or not, better at a snow event, you could see how the operate. I think Mr. Kamer was out last week, but you could see the trucks as they're moving and through the system and what they're doing, whether it's salt only or salt and plow. So it is very impressive. And these in-camera is going to be very beneficial to us.
Yeah, and real quick, just to tell my colleagues, had the opportunity to come out last week, and really impressive, and I've actually learned a lot. So I would encourage you folks just to take, 30 minutes and go out there if you have it. It's really impressive to see all that. All right, no other questions or comments. Suspension of the rules?
Yeah, we'd like to get this going, sir.
Okay. Committee?
So moved. Suspension of the rules.
Second.
All right, all in favor of suspension of the rules?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We'll suspend the rules on that for you, Chris. Next one, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Bob Sumerel Tires for the purchase of specialty refuse tires and declare an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is another one we used to have on the no bid ordinance, and some of the state rules changed, so we have to have separate legislation. So this company, Bob Sorello, they are specialized in the Bridgestone brand tire. They are the local rep where we have to go to purchase these tires. We have found that the Bridgestone particular tire, nothing against any of the other manufacturers in town, have wore the best on our sanitation trucks. They're an anti-puncture tire. And like I said, we have gotten probably 3 times the life out of these other standard tires. So that's why we're gonna ask for this legislation to purchase these tires.
All right, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle? No? Any other council members? All right, consent agenda, okay?
Yes, sir.
Consent.
I move for consent.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor of consent?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll put that on the consent agenda. Moving on to the next piece, I believe it's number 12, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with GPD Group after publicly advertising for qualifications for traffic engineering, general services, and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, we advertise this on our bonfire website to request proposals in GPD after evaluating their services and obviously their cost to do this. This is a 5-year contract. It's about $40,000 a year. That gives us the flexibility when we're designing a new signal or doing a traffic study on a street. We go to them and they give us support service for those designs. So like I said, this is a 5-year contract.
All right, thank you. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle on this one? Any other council members in chambers? All right, consent agenda okay?
That's fine.
All right.
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll move forward and put that on the consent agenda. Moving forward, we're almost done. Number 13, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Signal Service Company without the formality of publicly advertising for bids for the maintenance and emergency repair of traffic signals and other related equipment and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, we've had one previous 5-year agreement with Signal Services, and we'd like to do another 5-year, which is about $25,000 a year. They've been very beneficial to our operation, especially after hours. So if we get a street light or a street pole get hit that we're responsible for, sometimes they've worked in conjunction with our employees or they've actually repaired it themselves. One thing that we have going on right now is we are going to add a crosswalk for House 330 on West Market Street. So it's been, with that addition of access point across the street, it's been very difficult sometimes for whether you're going north to south or north or south to north from 330 over to access point, or just in general, the people in the neighborhood trying to access the House 330. So they're going to help us with some underground work. We're going to work with them on timing of the lights. at Merriman and Market and install a signal. It's not going to be a full signal. It's going to be a crosswalk signal. So it's going to be, this is just one example of what this contract will do to help us out moving forward.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Comments? Or any questions or comments? Yeah, Mr. Bolden.
Mr. Ludell, similar to what they've got down at the bottom of Portage Path Hill and Sand Run, that type of signal is a little bit more brighter because of the...
Well, it's going to be on the, it's going to, first, the biggest thing is the time of the lights, right?
Right.
So they're going to stay green all the way just to let that pedestrian get out into the crosswalk.
Okay.
So they're visible. Yeah. And the next thing is the signal is just going to be mounted on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Okay, the red light. But what we are going to do, the biggest thing is you're traveling west on Market. Right now, the stop bar is back from the Merriman Road. We're going to move that stop bar back even farther, so the traffic will have to stop, and then they'll see the pedestrian in that crosswalk.
I appreciate it. I noticed the one down at the bottom of the hill,
Yep.
and you're coming around that curve, and suddenly, whoop, better stop. Somebody's walking. So, no, great.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the folks at House 330 and also at the health group across the street are pretty excited about this. There are some days when people go by there too fast. So hopefully this will make some
Slow 'em down,
real clarity in slowing down and having safety.
No, good comments. Any other questions or comments from anyone in council chambers or anyone online? Okay, Chris, consent okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So move for consent agenda.
Second.
All right, thank you. All in favor of consent agenda?
Aye.
Anybody opposed of consent? Okay. All right, moving on to, I think, the final piece here. Authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and if awarded, to accept and expend the Ohio Department of Development Advanced Energy Grant for energy efficiency upgrades to multiple city facilities and declare an emergency. Chris.
This legislation, sir, will allow us to apply for an energy grant through the Ohio Department of Development, which is the Advanced Energy Grant. We are applying for a total of $676,000 for a total of, the whole project is about $850,000. But what we are requesting is part of this grant, you had to build out a project that was a payback of 15 years. So when we looked at our facilities, what was needed, and some of these that we're applying for are in the capital budget. So to get that 15-year payback, LED lights are a big one, but also HVAC upgrades. So some of the highlights at this municipal building, we do have steam in the building, but we do not have condensate return, which means once the steam passes through the building, it condensates back to a high temperature liquid. This will connect this building where we'll take that high temperature liquid all the way back to the Akron Energy system instead of dumping it down the drain. But at Fire Station 6, we're looking at some LED conversion and HVAC upgrades. Fire Station 8, same thing. Firestone Community Center is an HVAC upgrade and some LED conversions. Lawton Community Center are going to be some boiler upgrades and LED lights. Joy Park is going to be building HVAC upgrades and LED conversions. Out at Triplet, our municipal service center, we have an RTU, which is a rooftop unit that'll be replaced. And then down in the wastewater plant in the valley, we're looking at replacing our boiler down there. So we did have the art museum in this originally. They decided to go on their own and apply for their own, which they may be more successful on their own. But if they're successful, we're looking to connect our Akron Energy chilled water system into the art museum. That's not part of this grant. I just kind of threw that in there, but the ones I mentioned previously are ones we are applying for.
All right, thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments from committee members? No? Any other council members? Councilman Fusco.
Just real quick, I applaud the efforts. Appreciate the administration. I see Emma back there applying for these funds. Very measurable. Hopefully, we're going to get these, fingers crossed, these funds to save taxpayer money. Thanks for your effort.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Chris, consent, okay?
You know, and I think, could we suspend the rules, because we want to get this grant
Well, it's up to the
going.
committee, but yeah.
Motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
All right. All in favor of suspension of the rules?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, anybody opposed? All right, well, thank you, everyone. We'll suspend the rules on that, and I think we are adjourned, correct? Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hannah, and Davis. We do have all committee members present here in chambers. We'll give everyone just a moment to get to their seats. Thank you.
Hi, Hannah.
How are you, Lombardo?
Okay, I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order. We have all members present, and we have previous minutes to pass. If I could get a motion.
Motion to approve the previous meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the minutes. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have two previous pieces on the regular agenda. We'll continue with time with those. We have three new pieces today to come before us. The first one is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and, if awarded, to accept and expend the 2024 FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant, AFG, and declaring an emergency. I did see.
There you go.
There he is. He moved on me. Our fire chief is here. Are you presenting, sir? I can. Chief Henderson.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as you know, we apply for grants every year. We try to save the taxpayers revenue and funding, and we try to be fiscally responsible. So one of the big ticket items that are going to be coming for end of life are our portable radios, our Motorola radios that we use in the field. So we have approximately 242 radios. At the time, we actually looked at vendors, Kenwood, and we also looked at Motorola. So Motorola is one of the top brands in the industry. Right now, when we spec'd out what the radios would cost, is about $2.2 million. And Kenwood radios is significantly less, just like about 1.5 million. And so if we are to get this grant, we are looking at purchasing radios for what we do as operations. And we would like you to pass this.
Time is of the essence?
Yes, it is,
Okay.
because the grant submission, we actually even collaborated with a grant writer, and the submission will be coming up next month, and we would like to get this in right away.
Okay, very good. We have any questions from any committee members? Any other council members? Mr. Lombardo.
Thank you. Chief, I'm sorry. Are we going with Kenwood or Motorola?
Well, we're gonna basically have to do, put it out for bid.
Okay.
But we're just like, we have Kenwood that we use right now for 40-hour personnel, and we also use Motorola's in the field.
I got you. And our portion is basically like 10% of that?
That is correct, about $200K.
Okay. And the grant would cover 90?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Amobian?
I'm just curious, the price difference between the two companies that you identified?
Roughly, if I can remember correctly, roughly about 700 to 800K
Difference.
difference.
And
Oh,
the
yes.
quality is the same.
Well, I don't want to basically lobby for one company or the
Oh,
other.
okay, okay.
So,
Okay, thank you, that's enough.
Well, let me ask you this, Chief. I believe we've probably used Motorola quite a bit, and they've been dependable for us over the years. Is that correct?
that is correct, Chairman.
All right, very good. We have any other questions from any committee members or council members at all? So what's the time frame on this, sir? This is,
We want to get this submitted as soon as possible
Okay,
and have it
all right.
reviewed.
can I get a motion for suspension of the rules?
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. We'll get that out to council tonight. And our next piece before us, I'm assuming you're going to be presenting on this as well, Chief, is an ordinance authorizing the mayor as a designee to enter in a contract or contracts with Stryker Sales without the formality of publicly advertising for bids for the purchase of 16 LifePak 35 cardiac monitors and declaring an emergency.
Yes, Chairman. So right now, our cardiac monitors, as of right now, of 2025, is at end of life as far as our service maintenance agreement. And we are looking to purchase 16 this year, an additional 4 LifePaks in 2026. The cost of these systems is very expensive. And these are the monitors that we put on for our EKG when you're having a heart attack, when we're looking at your vital signs. This is essential to our industry.
Very good. I know we've been trying to get some grants for these for a couple years now, and obviously this is a piece of equipment that's of utmost importance for our paramedics to help our citizens in the city. Do we have any questions from any committee members? Any council members have any questions on this? I'm assuming this is time
Yes.
crunch on this,
Yes,
sir?
time is of the essence.
All right. Could I get a Councilwoman Davis?
Yeah, just a quick question. How many of these do you have? 16 total, or
So we have
are you
20 total.
20 total?
So,
Okay.
but on our frontline vehicles, we only have the 16.
Okay.
So that's why we're asking for 16.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Could I get a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will get that out this evening as well.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Chief.
And women.
All right, our third and final piece to come before us is an ordinance authorizing the mayor as a designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids with a consulting firm or firms to conduct police lieutenant promotional testing and declaring an emergency. Montrell, you are presenting today?
Yes, I am. Good
Okay,
afternoon.
go right ahead.
So I'm here with our Assistant Director of Employment Selections, Chris Renninger, and I'm presenting a request for the purchase of services for a vendor for our promotional testing for the Akron Police Department Lieutenant's promotional process. So along with everyone else, we're anxious to get some of those promotions underway, and so this request is submitted on an emergency basis.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from any committee members? Councilwoman Davis.
So do you always contract with a consulting agency for these?
Yes, so the vendor actually creates the examination,
Okay.
and so it's put out to multiple vendors with certain criteria that we want on the testing, and then they come back with a proposal.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Any other questions from any committee members or council members? What's the time frame on this?
Since it is, we do want to move forward with it, we would like to have it submitted
Suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules.
Okay, do we have a motion from the committee?
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules with the favorable report.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, very well. We'll get that out to council tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you all very much.
We have nothing further to come before public safety, and we will be adjourned. Thank you.
Our final committee meeting of the day is the Health and Social Services Committee. Those committee members are Amobian, Davis, DeShazier, Boyes, and Garrett. We do have all committee members present. Councilman Garrett is joining us online. If we can give everyone just a moment to change seats before we get started, Madam Chair.
Being controlled fire service, motor really is the standard, they're the most reliable.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Right. Well, I'm sure they're secure inside. How you doing, sir?
Is he on? Got the stitches out last week, again this week, I'm supposed to be like 2 more weeks for that.
Give Sam your seat. Sam, you coming over here, or you gonna sit over here?
Sit here?
You good?
Okay.
Okay. I'll just go kick you out. Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Health and Social Services Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Amobian,
Present.
Davis, DeShazier,
Present.
Boyes,
Aye.
and Garrett.
Present.
All committee members are present.
Thank you very much. We haven't had a meeting for a while, but the minutes from the last meeting, could I get someone to offer approval for those?
I move for approval of the previous minutes.
They've been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved. And just when I'm about to read this ordinance, my phone starts acting up.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Aren't you wonderful? We have one piece this afternoon. I'm excited about this. I've been seeing all these flyers and information. We have an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept and expand the 2025 Childhood Obesity Prevention and Environmental Health and Sustainability Award funds from the United States Conference of Mayors to assist with startup costs for Summit Fresh Mobile Market and declaring an emergency. I don't know who came up with this wonderful idea, but it's absolutely fabulous. I've said many times before, if we move the politicians out of the way, the citizens would do us a lot of good service. And this is absolutely fabulous. So I will turn it over to, okay,
Yes.
sure.
Thank you, Chairwoman Amobian, and the rest of the committee for having us today. I think you know me, but I'm Casey Shevlin, the Director of Sustainability and Resiliency, and I'm here with my colleague Rochelle Wardle. She is our Education and Health Strategist for the city. You have the legislation before you that Councilwoman Amobian just read, and we just wanted to provide a little bit of context for that. I think it's also going to help us to set up an overview that you're going to get today as well. So I'm going to jump in. I feel very lucky that environmental sustainability is such a wide-ranging topic that I often, my work intersects with other city staff, and that is very much the case here. So Rochelle and I have a shared interest in equitable, healthy food access in Akron. Ebony Oboa-Amankwa, who you're going to meet today, is also very passionate about the same topic and came our way fairly early in 2024 with this idea for a mobile grocery market that could address food access, food desert issues in our city. And Rochelle and I thought it was a brilliant concept, and so over the course of the past maybe 6 to 9 months, we've just been helping to make connections for them in the community, supporting engagement efforts that they wanted to do in the city, and then eventually helping to facilitate some pilot events where the mobile market would be at a community center and residents could shop at it. And all of that went really well. The community members and board members that have coalesced around Ebony's idea are doing such an impressive job. And so when this grant came up, Rochelle and I just thought we should go for it. We pulled an application together, and we won first place for mid-sized cities in the U.S. And that means we get $175,000, which we'll be providing to Summit Fresh Mobile Market as seed funding, startup funding to take the idea beyond pilot stage to more of a recurring solution for the community. So I'm going to pause there, see if Rochelle has anything to add, and then we can get to the overview.
Thanks, Casey. Thank you, Chairwoman, committee members. I'm Rochelle Wardell, the Health and Education Strategist in the Mayor's Office, and I don't really have anything to add, but I will introduce our guest here with us today to share about Summit Fresh Mobile Market, for which this grant will supply startup funds, is Ebony Yeboah-Manquah. She's leading a group of dedicated residents, local residents, who have formed a new nonprofit entity that is focused on food security and food deserts. Ebony?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. This idea came to me through the American Heart Association. I had an opportunity to be the chair of the Akron Heart Walk last year, and they indicated that they didn't want me just to raise money, but to find a passion. And they shared with me that 50% of the people living in Summit and Portage County lived in areas where they didn't have access to fresh, affordable food. And a lot of times you hear those staggering statistics, and you're like, oh, that's really bad. What's for dinner? But I took it upon myself to ask, what can we do to address this issue? And they shared with me that Mahoney County, had a food truck. And it was really like a mobile grocery store, where their problem is a lot more pronounced in the Youngstown area than in Summit and Portage. And they provided fresh grocery experiences to the people in Youngstown. And so they linked me up with the people in Mahoney, and I began to learn about what they had to offer. And the more that I learned, I recognized that this is not a one individual assignment, but it took a team, a board to put together, and also a community to be able to support an initiative like this. And so one of the things that we did was we put together a board with the experience to really tackle this issue. And so the president of the board is a grocer. She is part of the Krieger family that owned Krieger Market up in kind of Chicago Falls Stowe area, and she currently, her and her husband own a grocery store called 7 Grains in Talmadge, Ohio. And then we also found experience of people in the community, Betsy Ingalls, that recognized strategy, and Ben Teagle, who recognized the idea of taking a concept and forming an organization. Ben was part of the board, along with myself, of the Akron Children's Museum before they had a building. And so when you have this great idea, how do you actually create a strategic plan and put a vision around it and make it come alive? And then Aaron Burkett was actually introduced to me by the Casey and Rochelle from the city of Akron, because he had an idea of a food truck, or excuse me, a fruit truck. And I linked up with Aaron. I said, hey, you had an idea of a fruit truck. We're talking about a mobile grocery store that'll have fruits, but also vegetables, poultry, eggs, milk. And so let's come together with this idea for a full service offering. And Aaron said that's a great idea, and so we linked him on. And that's part of how this journey has been going. As we talk about this throughout the community, it gathers a lot more energy. And a lot of different organizations are saying, like, how can I help? How can we partner? You know, we've talked to Open M, and they're like, we have some space, and we offer free food, but we can also offer you space to provide your mobile grocery store experience. One of the things that makes this as unique is it's not free food. We're not offering free food, but we will offer what we call coupons. Sometimes Mahoney used the word voucher, but we're trying to provide language that gives kind of this dignity and this agency to a person. We want a person to have an experience where they walk in and they can buy as much of whatever that they want. And they're also providing a community experience where we engage and get to learn and know about the community. And so if they say, hey, we'd like to have oxtail, or we'd like to have blueberries, or whatever they want, that we can provide that offering in that grocery store. And so it's really an idea we're trying to provide a whole wraparound grocery store experience to areas that are designated as a food desert. Now, sometimes I get a question about, well, how about the local grocery stores? And this is an initiative that is really designed around the least, the lost, and the left behind, the people that don't have the access to the grocery store. They don't have this access because maybe they don't have childcare to make a couple bus routes to the grocery store, or maybe they have physical disabilities or challenges they can't make it to the grocery store. And so we're really targeting areas that have been designated as food deserts, and we've been partnered with the Summit County Health Department to really understand those issues and also have this collaborative approach. The Summit County Health Department is gathering a table around other people that are like-minded in this space so that we can create this web of resources and sources to provide the entire community. I'll see that with any questions. I know I've kind of gone through that quickly, but I can also answer some questions around it.
I'm sure we have lots of questions, and I'll get to the members in a minute. I saw something like a van, and you walk in and you select produce and anything you want, like you do at a grocery store. So how do you decide where you go? I see the zip codes that you are going to be traveling in. So how do you decide where you go, and how do you restock? I would assume that you would have to restock several times a day or something. I mean, this concept is wonderful. I love the idea, and I love the fact that people have access to fresh food, produce and other items. So can you talk about the logistics a little bit?
Yes, thank you. First, how do we decide where to go? So, when we identify these different zip codes, let's just take 44320 as an example. That's the area code that I grew up in. Depending on where you live in that zip code, you could be very close to a grocery store, or you could be very far away. And so what we're doing is not only looking at the zip code, but looking at these pockets of, like if I went to Joy Park, which we had a pilot in Joy Park, and I sat in the parking lot, and I Googled how far to the grocery store, and it was a 40-minute walk. And so we're looking at those areas within those zip codes that there is that long-distance walk. And then we're also partnering with these community centers or AMHA housing or these senior living facilities. And we really want to go to areas where there's a high concentration of people. And then so we get the word out, we get marketing and communication. And then when we go to a place where there's already a high concentration of people living, and that's kind of where we'll decide where to go and partnering with these community groups. We're already partnering with 2 churches. And so we plan to partner with these community centers and these churches to really get the word out and kind of really target that exact location. And then kind of how do we stock the truck? Right now we're looking to operate on Saturday mornings from 11 to 2 every Saturday. And so we anticipate, we would get a clientele about 50 to 100 people, and we would kind of restock the truck. Mahoney kind of they have a separate truck to restock the truck, but we're hoping to kind of be able to stock the truck in a way where we have everything that we need on the truck. I know our last pilot, we did not have to restock the truck each time, but we'll have our source of supply very closely, that if we're running low, we can always kind of go back and get this item or that item.
What about your pricing?
Excuse me?
Your pricing.
So our pricing is going to be very similar to a grocery store pricing. And so what we do is we would buy wholesale, and then our pricing would be a little bit above wholesale. And that kind of that markup is really to kind of not create a profit off that, but really to account for food waste. And so what we're looking at is our cost structure would be, we get revenue in from the market, it would really just be for the food. And then we would get funding for the food coupons that we would offer. And so the food coupons then brings our pricing a little bit down from the grocery store. And that really kind of just accounts for that. We're not going to have that same sort of economies of scale that your traditional brick and mortar would have.
I have tons of questions, but I'll defer to, was it you, Ms. Davis?
Oh, yes. Answered one of my questions. So I'm just curious, are shoppers able to, it's going to be a mobile bus?
That's correct.
And are shoppers able to come onto the bus to shop, or you're going to be at different locations where you take the product into like open M?
So there's a picture up here on the deck, and so you can see this is an actual picture of the mobile market. And so shoppers would enter kind of through the back, and on one side you'll have your fruits, your vegetables, and some of your light pantry items to make a meal. And
That's your bus?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Thank you. And then on the other side, you have your ribs, your meat, your pork, your oxtail. You can have your frozen food goods. And so for shoppers who can't enter the bus, who might have some disability or physical challenges, we do have a grocery list. And so there's a grocery list that a shopper can kind of look and check that off, and we'll have assistants to kind of go through and do kind of a personal shopper experience for them based on that.
So in my ward, we have 5 senior buildings, so you could potentially pull this up to a senior location and they could shop?
That's our plan.
All right, let's pass it.
Mr.
That was a very interesting presentation, and I really enjoyed it. Where would your funding come from, say, next year and the year after? And according to the documents, supporting documents, it's $175,000. Where would you get that funding from 2 years from now or next year? And that truck, who's going to maintain that truck? And if you're going outside, I don't see whether need inside the city limits for that truck, but you did mention Summit and Portage County. Now, I'm not familiar with the outside areas, but I think it would be better served on the outside areas where it was a food desert. But inside Akron, it's too many grocery stores and too many agencies that's giving away food for you to come to, say, a high-rise and then charge the residents at the high-rise, and you say you're going to get just, the price would be just a little bit more than less than the grocery store because you're buying wholesale. So how would you keep the prices down if the economy rises? You know, how would you do that?
Yeah, so a couple of, I want to be able to address all of your questions, and when I finish, let me know if I missed anything. But one on the funding. So one of the largest expenses is acquiring that truck. Another large expense is the grocery. And so, you know, one of the ways that we would pay for the groceries is that we'd purchase groceries, but then the people would buy the groceries. And so that kind of alleviates that expense. This grant would help us with the truck. Other expenses would be funded. And even though we just formed our organization, we already have about $60,000 of funding for this organization from other sources that have really kind of believed in this. One is the Akron Community Foundation. They have a group called Young Philanthropists. And part of their project was they committed to pay for, they funded a scholarship or a funding grant for this truck. And that's facilitated a number of our pilot programs. And so we already do have additional funding in the door. You asked about maintenance for the truck. And so we've already kind of reached out to another community partner who's offered to provide maintenance for us for the truck. You've mentioned about the need in the city, and so while it would seem intuitive that it really is the areas around the city that it would be most in need of this, we've already been reached out by some really well-known community partners asking us, could we bring the truck to their neighborhood in this city, because they see the need that even right here in the city, people don't have the access that we would think that they do.
I can only tell you that people may not think a city this size would have food deserts. We do. We have a number of them. I mean, Councilwoman, well, now she's state rep, Veronica Sims she's the one that's kind of educated me somewhat about this problem. You go to Summit Lake area, there are lots of people over there who can't get to a grocery store. There are parts of East Akron, and maybe you're not necessarily familiar, but there are lots of areas of this city, unfortunately, where people cannot get on where they don't have transportation. They may not be able to get on the bus, but whatever the problem is, we have a lot of folks that can take advantage of this service. So when I read about it and I saw it, it is badly needed in our city, unfortunately. And you know, we have too many grocery stores on Market Street. We probably got about 5 or 6 grocery stores, and we have Aldi's opening across the street from Acme 1. And I asked myself, and we have nothing we can do about it as a council because the area is zoned for that. So we couldn't stop them. But we still need lots of grocery stores in other parts of the city. And this is a wonderful idea. I guess logistically, I'm still curious. I don't know what your budget is, how you projected your budget out. what do you project your budget to be annually?
About 125,000.
That's for staffing as well as equipment and
Yeah, so one of the things
gas?
we're going to do is we're really leaning it upon some volunteer services. And so, one of the questions was about, maintenance. And so we do have an organization that's willing to provide us maintenance. Another question could be like, okay, who's driving the truck, And we've already kind of partnered with Woodridge bus drivers that, we take about 8 bus drivers who would volunteer for one Saturday a month to kind of staff the truck. And so a lot of the services, like, who's helping people in the truck, who's helping people get off, a lot of that, these traditional expenses would be volunteer services. And so, while we have to maybe employ a couple people, a lot of this will be run through a volunteer effort. And, while we could staff up and run more than one day a week, but with one day a week, it would be easy to accomplish much of our objectives through volunteer service.
Mahoney, I'm assuming that they've been doing this for a while?
Yeah, they've been doing this for maybe 6 years now. I could be a little bit off the date, but just quickly on the Mahoney experience. So they had this truck, and they were doing this in Mahoney Valley. And it was such a success, and the need was so great that they bought a new, bigger truck, and they expanded, and now they're serving Trumbull County. And they recognized that the truck that they had for Trumbull County, the much larger truck, was a better vehicle for them, and it served a much broader area. So now they're looking to buy that same size truck to serve their now growing base or their expanded need in Mahoney County. And that's what gives us the opportunity to buy that truck.
Oh. Just as the U.S. Conference of Mayors gave us $175,000, I don't know, Emma, are you working on another $175,000 or $300,000 or something? We need to find a way to help support this project because it is badly needed, and to have the opportunity for people to get fresh produce and vegetables and meat and all these things that they need, I'm just thrilled, and I hope that we can find a way to help to continue. I know the Akron Community Foundation, they have new leadership coming in, but we'll find a way to help you get some partners because this has to continue in our city. It's a great idea.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm excited to hear this. I was once living in a community that had a similar concept, and they called it the rolling store. And the rolling store concept that would come up on Fridays, on Saturday mornings, and then it got so popular until they started doing it on Sunday afternoons too. And so it does create a situation where it ends the void in certain areas where there are food deserts. I mean, even in Akron, if you think about it, we have such a growing residential community in downtown, but we still don't have a grocery store that's really down here either. So that would even be a concept that people would use. So I just want to give kudos to this, and I'm supportive.
Yeah. Goes, please.
Yeah, I have 4 senior buildings in Ward 4, and this would really, really be good for them. I meet with them periodically throughout the year. A lot of them don't have transportation, so to have that grocery store come straight to them, that would be really, really great. So I'm excited and definitely will support it.
There were other hands down, please. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Love the idea, love the concept. Couple questions. Will there be a calendar type posted so that we can see when it's coming in our areas so that we can be supportive in our neighborhoods with this program? That's number one. And also a calendar could help. A lot of our high school students need service hours, and this would fall right in that Saturday morning. It could be a great opportunity for them to do some intergenerational help, and certainly we know they like to shop, so maybe they could be some of your personal shoppers. So it'd be great to get this out to the high schools as a volunteer opportunity for those young people.
That's a fantastic idea, Councilwoman. And yes, I think when we think about how we have a group of committed residents that are bringing this idea and will be operating it, where does the city fit in that? And it's to both of your points. We will continue to help to make connections to other nonprofits that have similar goals. We will continue to look for resources that would be a fit. and we will help to promote it. And, utilize our spaces online in order to make sure that people know where the truck's going to be on which days.
Also, one more. Let's Grow Akron does a number of cooking demonstrations, and especially for a lot of our young parents, maybe as they're waiting in line, teach them how to use some of this produce or use some of these as something that they could watch while they're waiting in line to purchase their items. I think we have an opportunity here to educate on not only healthy eating, but healthy cooking to go with it.
I know that as Councilman Fusco gets to Mike, have you thought about some safety initiatives? Have you talked to Chief Harding so that he'll know where your van is going to be? At least a police officer could make some rounds in that area or something. I'm just thinking in terms of you have to think about everything and plan for as much as you can. At this point, I'm sure you don't have money for security, but that would be one way of addressing that, is having an officer make rounds while you are in that vicinity or something. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Of course, like everyone here, applaud your efforts. This is brilliant. Congratulations to the team that brought this to us here in our city. And I'm just curious, seeing what the mission is here. I believe it's childhood obesity, et cetera. Is there going to be like an education component? It seems as though that, the access of food desert, I don't know what the exact definition is. I think we have it all in our minds, but a lot of times there isn't necessarily food desert, it's good food deserts. And so a lot of times, we have convenience stores that are within walking distance and making this available to folks. Is there like an education component to this in terms of everyone, within those areas that might help?
Yeah, there will be an education component of it, and we have talked to the American Heart Association in doing that partnership. And I didn't really highlight it, but the full impact about the adverse effects of living in these food deserts is that it's a social determinant, that they found that people living in these food desert areas have disproportionately adverse health effects. And that's one of the things that we highlighted in the application. It's not just not having access to food, it's that desperate impact to either higher cholesterol, higher heart disease, higher, to be honest, just a shorter lifespan and there's many things that contribute to the social determinant. One is not having access to fresh, affordable foods. Another one is not having access to maybe a park or recreational area. And then the other one is on this spectrum is if you live in a house with lead.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Councilman Garrett has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Please, Councilman Garrett.
Thank you, Chair, for this opportunity. I would like to take this opportunity to applaud Mr. Aaron Burkett. It's about 8 months ago, the gentleman came down to council and chambers in the committee room, and we talked about this opportunity. And for the administration to take the time to meet with them to put this together. I was talking to Mr. Aaron. If you don't know where you're going, any road would take you there. This young brother knew where he was going. He partnered with the necessary individuals to put this amazing food truck together. I think it's really important that we understand that Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Dollar Store are mostly in our communities. They're not there designed to give us those healthy items that we need. We talk all the time about you can go to McDonald's and Wendy's, although they have bad food, but you can still get fresh, you can choose to get something healthy from that institution. This gives people an opportunity to have fresh, healthy food, a better option, a better choice. This will help with blood pressure. This will help with cholesterol. This will help with life expectancy for the poor Black, white, and brown community to be able to live longer lives. This is a phenomenal opportunity. I think the council should consider not only looking for grants, but figuring out a way to keep this funded so that these folks can get the help that they need. It's about the least of us. And this opportunity is amazing. I would like for us to continue to figure out a way to continue to fund it because those Dollar Trees are hurting our communities. This is just the beginning. Lastly, I'm up in Youngstown a lot, and I am familiar with Mr. Ian Beniston, and I'm familiar with the program up in Youngstown. They come through the Barber College, and they feed so many people run to that truck. I think this would be a phenomenal opportunity here in Akron, and I look forward to supporting this as well. And thank you guys so much for bringing this to us. This is so needed, and I applaud the administration for working diligently to get the funding to get this off the ground. My hat's off to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Two things. He mentioned Aaron, and I just wanted to, again, applaud Aaron. Like, you'll see our graphic, our logo. Aaron designed that, and Aaron's currently working on our Facebook page. And so thank you for bringing Aaron. And we have a video, I think that, if anyone's not sold or kind of wonders, like, how does this really look? Through this grant opportunity, we had an opportunity to shoot a video, and so they came through Akron, and it really kind of captures the work, and it gives a customer experience too. And so if we do have a bit more time, we can show the video.
Sure. Can you make that work, Sarah?
Is there sound to the video?
There is.
Okay, it might be better to do that from my computer then, because the audio is running through my computer, and if you try to do it with yours, I think we're going to get that echo.
There's a link on the last page.
Okay, great.
And while we're at it, yours is a food bus as opposed to a food truck, right?
Yeah.
So all the freezers and everything else would be operated individually.
That's correct.
While we're waiting on that, when did you start? When did you make your first trip out to the community?
Well, our first opportunity, we didn't have access to the truck, because each time we do a pilot, Mahoney brings their truck up. And so we actually did a Touch a Truck event, and we had this like Lego truck but we did a survey. And then our first kind of, when we brought the truck up, was in September. We did a pilot at Summit Lake, and then we just did one recently in January at Joy Park.
So do you have your vehicle already now?
Mahoney has the vehicle that they're looking to sell it to us, and so we're able to bring their vehicle up to pilot it.
So you're going to purchase your own?
We're going to purchase their vehicle.
Oh, their vehicle, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
If something happens, we'd purchase our own, but that's the plan.
You have to rename the vehicle? Or no?
We have to do a wrap. We have to rewrap it.
Okay. So how did you get interested in this?
Well, again, I was chair of the Akron Heart Walk, and they mentioned the statistic, and it just seemed, sometimes you hear an issue, you're like, yeah, I'm not sure how we're going to solve that. And people are even arguing on whether it's really even an issue, and so you spend a lot of time arguing. But this one, they not only did they tell me about the issue, they said, hey, Mahoney does it. And I really think the game changer is when I met with the folks at Mahoney, sometimes with nonprofits, it's very difficult for nonprofits to work collaboratively together because they're so focused on kind of meeting their own mission. But Mahoney County, they opened their books, they provided me all of their grant applications, their books, their budgets. They spent so much time with us. They said, hey, we can buy your truck. I mean, it really was that partnership that kind of really launched this in a way that it wouldn't. I think when nonprofits can partner that way, and
Right.
it was a game changer.
Good.
With home of LeBron James. It previously was the rubber capital of the world. We still have that rubber legacy. We're kind of big enough to have a lot of the benefits of a big, diverse city, but also small enough that each person can see the impact that they're making day to day.
So this is what it looks
The
like?
Summit Fresh
Yes.
Market is
That's
about
pretty
bringing
big.
the grocery store directly to where residents most need it. Making sure that each community member, whether there's a brick and mortar grocery store or not, has the opportunity to purchase their own healthy, nutritious food.
We have have maybe 60,000 adults and maybe 10,000 kids who struggle with food insecurity.
This is about equity. If some folks in the community have access to grocery stores, more healthy options than some folks don't, then we would like to step in and level that playing field a little bit, make sure everyone has the access they need.
Shopping on the Summit Fresh mobile market will be just like going into a grocery store. They will be able to use multiple forms of payment, including SNAP, cash, card.
Thank you. One of our missions is to be able to give people this independence, this agency, where they can come on the truck and say, we want to buy all of your this, or we want to buy all of that, or hey, you don't have anything here that's for me, and we can have that conversation.
Going shopping, which is what everybody likes to do, and picking what you would like to have, and then paying for it, allows an individual to engage their agency. It is transformative.
So I need another basket from baskets. Don't get me wrong, food pantries are good, but this is like you're at the grocery store. Can't go wrong. And you're buying food, so yeah, I love this. This is my favorite now. Y'all made my day.
We'll use these grant funds for startup costs. We'll include staffing, promotion, as well as the purchase of the truck from Mahoning Valley, which has an effort just like this that we're learning from.
I really like that the Summit Fresh mobile market is reflective of the spirit of Akron. It's creative and kind of scrappy.
Please, y'all, thank you.
On behalf of the whole city of Akron, I want to thank the American Beverage Foundation for a Healthy America and the U.S. Conference of Mayors for investing in this idea and helping us reduce food deserts and really make Akron a healthier, livelier, stronger place.
Now we need to pass a legislation, and I'm sure it's, you want us to suspend the rules?
That would be great, because then we can sort of get moving on some of the grant details, but that would be great.
May I have a motion to suspend?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? The motion passes. And again, thank you so very much for this.
Thank you.
That was the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet in special session at 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Yeah, we're, is that right?